Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Bill. How are you, sir?
Just stirring some warm drink.
it
How about
sounded
you?
like you were. It sounded like you were doing alchemy over there with like how that sounded in relation to the microphone and everything. It sounded like old school, and you were going to, create. I don't know, something magical. I'm losing the joke as I continue to look for it. So let's leave it alone.
Yeah, we'll call it ASMR. How about that? Let's go
There
with
you
that.
go. There you go.
Just
Interesting.
yeah, too good.
How
How
was your
about
weekend?
how was your weekend?
You go first.
Okay. Let's see. How was my weekend? Went to a birthday party yesterday, so that was cool. Got to go some extended family of the girlfriend. So nieces and
Nice.
nephews had like a double birthday party. Played board games, finger foods, stuff like that. Turned on some
Nice.
music, did a little dancing. So it was good. It was relaxing.
Yeah.
More, take your kids everywhere on Earth type stuff, and that is not anywhere leaving in the near future. So
Yeah, that's fair. That's
yeah,
very fair.
that's how mine was. How about you?
So Saturday we went to the Kimball because they're having
Oh,
their 50th anniversary thing. So it was all like open and amazing, super nice. They had food trucks and a bunch of cool stuff going on. So we went and checked out the art, and then left before like live music and all that stuff because there was like an event there, right? Like outside stuff, and so we went for the art and then left before all the outside stuff happened, and then went and had salsa limon, which is like amazing tacos.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then yesterday didn't really do much. A little bit of grocery shopping, but largely just hung out. Um, Man, I feel like I did more over the weekend. No, I think that's it.
Yeah,
Did
I
a little bit
mean,
of work because me and you hung out for like a very long time on Friday, and
yes,
so between that and the talk on Thursday, I did end up doing some work over the weekend, which is not super normal for me, but I was kind of behind on some deadlines and some things that I'd promised people. So did some work on Saturday morning to kind of get caught up with that stuff. So we don't
okay,
normally talk a whole lot about that kind of thing, but while I'm not an advocate for always working on a weekend, right? Sometimes if you have a lot of out of office stuff and everything, you have to do what you have to do because you made agreements and commitments.
yeah, for sure. And I think in the random times we have in passing talked about that sort of thing, it's been more like intentional about how you spend your time, not
Hmm.
necessarily that there's anything wrong working on a Saturday, because when you work for yourself, you can not work on a Thursday.
Yes.
And that's probably as normal as working on a Saturday. You have your own schedule. Um,
Yeah. There was a super long time ago, Michelle Stifler, who watches the show, put took her kids out of school and put them in the homeschool. And so I was just curious about the logistics of this thing. And I said, well, so do you still follow Mernon? Do you
hey,
still follow kind of a morning to afternoon kind of school schedule? And they were like, no. And I was like, why not? Right? Like the routine guy over here is like, okay,
yeah,
why not just keep on that same schedule?
yeah,
And they were like, that's the hardest thing about getting used to homeschool is figuring out how you want to get it done, which goes to something you and I were talking about a lot on Friday of like designing or lifestyle design, right? So that way,
mhm,
like knowing when you're capable of doing good work, and sometimes you need to go do other kinds of maybe not deep work because your energy and how you feel about it and stuff like that. So yeah, that was like the minute you said that, I was like, oh, that's a very interesting thing. And so when it comes to that stuff, I just don't think it makes sense to not have some intentionality in your schedule and your days, so that way you can at least know when you're going to be off.
yeah, exactly. And what's funny is I think we all, let's say all, most of the people who probably be engaged in this show or our groups and things like that, all have like a degree of that going on in our lives. It's just not like, oh, I sleep until 11 and then I go to the golf course and then
Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
not like that. But like even Chris Mernon over here, like started a new job and he
Oh, did
travels.
he?
Yeah, he travels to stores regionally because he's a a, a local manager of particular things. I'll let him explain to you. But he gets to make his schedule. He gets to choose when he visits those stores. He can choose the time of day to show up to the stores. He can
Hmm.
he keeps his schedule, right? So we all have a portion of that.
That's nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I could, I could back in like AT&T days, I would want that job just that way I wouldn't have to deal with like super early morning stuff. But now, right, it's just about having a little bit more control over the schedule. Like it's not about avoiding anything; it's just doing it on my terms.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Because each of us like have our sweet spots for deep work and sweet spots for social and sweet spots for gaming.
yes, also true. Also true for sure.
Part of the formula for us, right? Yeah, District Asset Protection Manager at good old Burlington,
Burlington,
the coat store. Like the well,
the
he'll shoot
coat.
me for saying that, but they're more than coats. But when I grew up, that's where we went to Burlington's for coats for the winter because we knew they always had huge selections, and so that's
Oh,
Burlington's burned into my brain that way. So
interesting. Definitely need to be intentional in my schedule. Yeah, I mean, Chris, I think everybody does, right? And I think too many people just assume that it's all going to work out, and stuff like that. And people keep putting off certain things, putting off certain things, putting off certain things, and then you get behind. Like it's not always, I talk a lot about sales. Jake talks a lot about marketing. It's not always sales and marketing activities that you want to avoid or that you procrastinate on or that you put off. Like
no.
I coach a client. He's very good at what he does. The finance side of the business, he hates it. He hates it so much. And every time we talk about it, I'm like, man, okay, cool. Like, let's find someone to do this for you because, like, how much time do you think it's taking you? And
Hmm.
he goes, about half a day a week. And I was like, cool. So that's 2 days a month. 2 days a month that you're doing work that you hate doing. And okay, how much would you charge a client for 2 days or for 2 days of your time? And he was like, I don't know, $2,000. And I was like, okay, cool. So if you can replace yourself in this thing and it doesn't cost you $2,000 in a month to do so, you're coming out net positive with this kind of situation. And you don't necessarily need to be doing this work. And it, it's such like a weird thing because like I'm two-sided that way, which creates its own issues, right? I try to like outsource and delegate things maybe I shouldn't, but on the other side of it, well, I have to do this. No, you don't. You need to write really great instructions potentially for someone else to do it, or you need to pay a premium so that way someone else can write those instructions, or pay a premium so that you can work with someone who doesn't need instructions, but you don't have to do everything.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the big ahas for me, like one of the simple ones, was if you were to hire someone, you're gonna document it so that they can do it well for them.
Hopefully,
You're
please
gonna
do so.
yes, but even if you document it poorly, you're still gonna document it. You're gonna say, "Hey, please do these things right here," and you're gonna require some sort of time for it to be done by. Like, "Hey, can you get it done by every week? We need this done," that sort of
Yeah.
thing. You are an employee of your own business. So why would you treat yourself any other way? Document it for yourself, put it on your calendar when it has to be done by, and hold yourself accountable, right? And so like it's really straightforward. It's just when you work for yourself, you also can go,
Yeah.
well,
Well, I think
slide.
okay, so my blind spot shows up when I'm like, well, let me just figure this out and then I'll write it down,
Okay.
right? And that's problematic because then later on someone else comes along and they're like, "Oh, okay, cool. Like let me just go in here and do this thing." And then inevitably they're going to be like, "Oh, why don't we do it this way?"
Right.
Right? And they might go try to go do the same thing that you've already done and failed at, which is why you wrote the directions in the way that you did, right? So like I think it's even important to write out some of the stuff of like, hey, while this method might seem easier, here's a reason that we don't do it, right? And so like as you're iterating and updating your like SOPs and everything else like that, leave that stuff in there, right? So that way you don't bring in the intern, right, or someone new, and they're like, oh, well, you know what? Why, we should do this the easy way. This is the easy way. Well, we tried that. It doesn't work for us, and here's why, right?
Right. Right.
So I think keeping kind of that post mortem of the stuff that you've tried that hasn't worked out, because inevitably you're going to find something else similar. right? And so then it's okay. Well, let's try. Well, before we get excited, have we done anything like this before? Oh yeah, we did try something like this. It was a nightmare. Oh, maybe we shouldn't waste the time then.
Right. Right. Yeah,
So
it's like a good nutrition plan, right? Like one of the very first things that anybody will tell you to do is write down what you're eating today. Like,
yes,
oh,
yeah,
I forgot I was
hmm
eating a bowl of cereal every night. I mean, I don't know how I forgot, but like there it is. Okay, that's easy. Whereas if you go and then work in reverse, you may never, or it might take you a month to figure it out.
hmm
Oh, okay, I'm doing that.
yeah.
So, well, Chris has got a good question here,
A
and
great
we do.
question. Yeah, I was wondering how we are going to bring that up.
Yeah, well, it just was what made me think of it. There's a bunch of competing priorities. How do you figure that all out? Man, like I'm a big proponent, and tell me what you think of this. And you said it just a second ago. Everything that you think is a priority is not a priority. There's urgency on things, right? And then
hmm
there's deadlines, right? But that doesn't mean it's a priority. That just means by this date something needs to get done. Priorities are things that move things forward, right? Like priorities become the things that are most important because they help move things forward. Now, what those are, you can slice and dice 1,000 ways. But
hmm
so when I think of there's competing priorities, I tend for myself to think just because I do too much, I've got too many priorities. Probably let's go and reassess what am I trying to get done by the end of this month and the end of this quarter. So that is this really a priority? Probably not. So slide it
hmm
off. So that's tip. That's where I start when I have that question for myself. I'm overloaded. How do you deal with that?
And I, that's a good question. I think how do I say what I'm trying to say here? Hold on a second. Um, the way that I think about it is like literally everything wants to be a priority, right? Like my like email inbox wants to be your priority, right? And everyone is trying to send me emails and like, do you want notifications on these emails and all this stuff and social media and Slack? Like everything is a competing priority, right? And these things kind of creep and bleed in whenever we're not vigilant around it, right? And my kung fu teacher used to talk about um, bandits, right? Bandits are things, and this is largely philosophical. Bandits are things that come in that take your focus away from the things you need to be working on,
Yep.
right? So,
Time
you know,
bandits.
time bandits, and things like this. And so, the priority list is going to be different for every single person on the planet, right? And then we have all the stuff that just assumes, right? Right now, I was supposed to have a call, I think tomorrow, with a person, and this thing, I don't remember how I met this person. I don't
Mhm.
remember the company. I don't remember any of these things, and it's just
Mhm.
on my calendar. And I know that some like SDRs and BDRs will just go and place the thing, and then they're kind of counting on the idea that you've forgotten everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, so like I've been getting these like, hey, looking forward to meeting, and I'm like, hey, I don't remember scheduling this, and I don't remember what we're talking about. It doesn't make any sense for me to show up to calls to where like I'm not aware of the agenda. Can you let me know, or let's cancel,
Yeah.
kind of thing?
Right.
Because once again, that is a priority being placed on me by someone else, and I don't even remember agreeing to it in the first place, right? And for all you salespeople out there, this is the importance of getting really good agreements about your meetings and your next steps and everything, because
Mhm.
I try to be very thoughtful and aware of all the agreements. And being a salesperson, I try to treat salespeople with the same kind of qualities I would be that I would want. But I don't remember why this is here. So like I can't make it a priority if I don't remember where it came from or anything else like that. It's just easier to cancel and opt out of. So I think that strategy works way better with like this is going to be a weird label, but like I think there are people who are accountable and they're like, no, get off my calendar, get off my time. This is my time. I got to hit these goals. And then there are people who are not quite to that level of accountable, and they're like, oh, well, maybe this is an important meeting and maybe I should go
Right.
over here and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I just think that is interesting. So, yeah, I'm not really sure what this meeting is going to be about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know there's some tech, and it may be in what you use as well, but I haven't, but I'll have figured out where you can actually tell it if they don't put something in the what's this meeting about box, then it'll actually reject the meeting and send it back and say, hey,
Mm,
fill in the box.
I like
So
that.
I would love to have that. I just haven't figured out where that's at.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. This is
Yeah,
another great question. What about priorities placed on you by others?
that's the most interesting thing because like I don't. There were some clients who want to work with me in a very specific way, and I can tell they're very used to dealing with just like hourly people or like contractor people and stuff like this. And
Yeah.
they come into those conversations. Okay, I want this by this. I want this. And that makes me fidget. That makes me like, oh, okay, well, but if you're working for somebody, right? Like, in what kind of context is that? Like, are you working with them as like a client, which there's like a peer to peer thing? Do you go to work for them? In which case, like, yeah, I think you have to zoom out and look at the situation with some honesty, right?
Yeah, agreed. Well, and I know in Chris's case, he's a area manager, so he has district managers or something like that, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
like, each month we have to have this happen in the store. That's why you're there to make sure this happens, right? And it's not
Yeah.
that much different with our clients if you're freelanced or if you work for yourself, as you have clients and we want to get this done by this end of this month.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get this done. Uh, I know the way I think about that, and the way I approach this has changed even since starting this job, just because I feel like I'm getting some really strong coaching around uh, coaching up and leading up. Uh, and I think that's a lot of times what you're doing in these situations, whether it's a client, even or a boss, is I think that is part of the conversation that's biweekly or monthly when it comes to progress. Is, hey, what's our goal here? What are we
Mm-hmm.
optimizing for? What's the things that we're most important about what we do here? Okay, I need X amount of time to accomplish that for you. And these are the type of activities we all agree on that will get us there. So this other stuff, I need
Yeah.
permission to say no to. Is that okay? Can we agree to that?
Yeah.
And I know you talk about that in different kind of contexts, but it's like even like in your sales conversations, though, it's like setting conditions, right? It's, hey,
Yeah.
this is what success looks like for us. Can we agree that if you need something, it comes this way,
Yeah.
or right? And so I think it's a hard conversation to have if you haven't had those very often, because it is
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable to set conditions with people you've never done it. Maybe if you know what, when you go get hired for a job, I think that's when people who are employed, that's one of the major times they feel like they have the opportunity to set conditions. It's like, hey, here's what I'd like to make. Here's how, if the role's like this, I'd prefer it be this, or if there's this. But
Mm-hmm.
after that, I don't know if we do a lot of condition setting.
Well, so I'm behind on this one thing that I told a client that I would be done with, right? And it was just me being a little overzealous, not really having the best view on how long the work was going to take. And so I was sending an email and was, okay, how do I talk about this? And lots of people take the route of, well, I don't want to be wrong, so let me spend all weekend working on this, right? And like putting themselves under a bunch of pressure and stuff like that, and they can't detach, and then they can't turn it off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or you can, own the part that you screwed up, right? So like I sent the email and it was like, hey, I got a little overzealous in this. It's not quite done, but here's what this means, and here's the adjusted timeline for it, right? And so I think it's super important to note that like you could go the other way. You could, no matter what your skill set is, right? It's super easy to like get super excited, make some promises without thinking about other priorities, other things on your timeline and calendar and stuff like that, and then not feel comfortable enough to go back to that client and be like, hey, I need a little bit more time. Instead, just kind of place yourself under that kind of hustle chaos, kind of thing of like stepping into that thing of like, well, we just have to get this thing done. Don't think about anything else until getting the step done. You remove the ability to be strategic and thoughtful about the work you're doing.
Yeah. So we talked about this on Friday, and this is a little Easter egg, and you'll probably pick it up later if you're listening today. But if your super challenge is like you just priorities are a problem for you, and you don't know which way to turn when it comes to priorities to move stuff forward. A lot of times, it's helpful to look at other areas in your life where you've conquered that, because you can kind of get swept up in business and
Yes.
think all businessy, right? Whereas you and I love talking about other areas of life where priorities are also like in the family, but
Yeah.
there's, there's an eating schedule, that some families go by. There's um, poker and kung fu. I'm sure have lots of opportunities to talk about priorities. Baseball, I can think of right away in baseball, the way the coaches set priorities for practice. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just really intentional. Like, here's what we're doing today, and here's why.
Yeah.
right? So I think it's helpful to look at other areas and how you set priorities of your life and take those lessons. I think it's a great way to oftentimes help you get a better answer than you even think you have if you think you have a good answer.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do is if someone comes and asks me for help. Good morning, Michelle. I was just
Hey,
talking
Michelle.
about you.
Oh, by the way,
Um,
Michelle, I got your stuff. It's awesome.
yeah.
I might have
um,
had some jam this morning. Just saying.
um, where was I going with that? I completely lost track. Oh, one of my favorite things to do, right, is that if someone comes and they're like, John, I'm stuck with something. Okay, right, well, let's talk it out. If they're also a coach, I'm like, okay, what would you tell one of your clients if they were dealing with this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like just that forced perspective of like I think about Doctor Strange, right? And she comes down and she kind of just drops that palm on his chest and knocks his spirit out of his body. Like that is honestly what the power of questions can do, as opposed to this, oh my God, I need help. Well, here's your help. Oh my God, I need help. Here's your help. Oh my God, I need help. Hey, how should you do this? Well, and then all of a sudden they can kind of zoom out and look at it from a different perspective and get the
Yeah.
clarity that they're looking for. And like, if you have deep wells that you have like dove into, right? Like a lot of the same stuff that makes baseball players very good is mindset. There's a mental side of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. Being a poker
Mm-hmm.
player, entrepreneur, salesperson, head of product marketing, like whatever that is, there's a mental component that goes along with it as well. And firmly believe, right? Like you don't have to go through all of those evolutions and failures and reinventing the wheel on your own because you've probably done something similar in a different part of your life.
Yep.
Or you can read books about people that have gone through very similar situations and how they dealt with it. Like, we're doomed to repeat the past if we do not study it, kind of one of those situations. But you
Yeah.
know, the chop wood carry water thing that I talk about all the time in relation to doing uncomfortable things daily so that way
Mm-hmm.
you lose the emotionality of it is blatantly a kung fu thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And I like how you said it, is that you've got deep pools of learning in other areas of your life, and don't cheat yourself. You've probably done a bunch of the reps that you need to get you
Yes.
like 90% of the way through your current problem. They may
Yeah.
not have the most relevant information around the specific thing, but most of that's readily available these days. It's
Yes.
information is not what we're lacking. It's context, it's application. And so it gives us a great opportunity to have confidence. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I like the, the Doctor Strange thing because that's totally it. Because the another way I heard it was, uh, if you have kids, how would you coach your kid on this issue? What would you tell your kid?
Oh, I like that.
Allows you to do the same thing. Oh, it's no longer about me. Okay, well, here's what you should do.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I don't know what that does, but it's as soon as the onus is off you, all of a sudden you become like 25 IQ points higher.
Well, Jocko actually talks about this in extreme ownership, right? Like one of the things that he talks about is if you can be the like if everyone is on a line, right? Everyone is kind of like lost in that same kind of mindset, right? So like frontline people are all like, okay, cool, like yeah, we're the front lines, yeah, they're getting all raw about it. Well,
Mm,
the more emotionally excited you get about things, the deeper the tunnel vision becomes, right? The fog of war, the emotional moment, right? And if everyone is on this line, the person who steps one step back has got better perspective than
right.
everybody else does, right? So
Yeah.
Jocko talks about, hey, detach and look at it from a different angle, like all the time, all the time, all the time, right?
Mm,
And yeah, like it when you can zoom out even a little bit and look at it differently,
mm-hmm.
that is where you can see, okay, are your actions actually working towards the goals and outcomes that you have set for this thing, right? And there's like a thing in poker of like, when you're playing any one hand, right? There's an opportunity of like, are you trying to win this hand? Are you trying to win the day? Are you trying to win a poker tournament? Or are you trying to just like play really great poker so that way you're consistently building a bankroll and stuff like this? And depending upon which level you're thinking at is going to have a huge impact on how you perform in the day, right? Same thing with like salespeople, right? Like you have 2 deals in your pipeline and we're coming up on the end of the reporting period. you know how much you need one of those two deals to close, and how it just goes like you can't even think about anything else, you know.
Yep.
And it leads to potentially bad deals, bad fits, bad expectations, bad alignment, all those things we talk about. So yeah, like, how is it like something else you have been through in the past? Because if you can look to that, you can probably shave at least 80% off of the improvement loop.
Yep. Yep. And you know how they say there's no such thing as an overnight success. That's this kind of in reverse, right? People are like, oh my
Yeah,
god, like you guys got huge. Yeah, like we were also toured like nasty bars for 12 years
yeah,
and basically ate ramen for 9 of those years. So yeah, we're
yes.
overnight success. You know, you just didn't know about us for the last decade
Mhm.
and some change. That's all. And I think
Yeah.
that's what mostly this stuff's about. You know, putting your head down
I
and
mean,
work.
if candidly, if you're the person who shows up for like every new task without any thoughts or thinking about the history or other opportunities, you're a goldfish. You're that
Mm,
person in Memento who can't remember anything that happened 5 minutes ago, right? Like, we have consciousness because it allows us to do these great things, but reading, self-reflection, these things are super important. Like, a big part of the time that I spent on Saturday was going back and making sure that my notes were complete for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week. I've just like my own internal notes, because like I'll
mm,
know, and this happens somewhat regularly. Someone is like, hey, I forgot my homework. Oh, okay, cool. Like, let me go
yeah,
get it for you and stuff like that. I can't do that if I'm not keeping the good notes, right? And in those moments, I like being the person with the answer, and stuff like that. So that is work that no one else cares about. It doesn't do anything else for anybody else inside of my organization, but they help me, right? So if it's important to you, you need to carve out the time to do it so that way it gets done. So while some of it was just like client facing work and work that I owed, part of it was also just stuff that like I knew that I owed myself.
yeah, 100%. I did some of that as well because I'm putting more information into HubSpot around coaching calls, so that next time I
Mm-hmm.
show up, I can always pick the ball back up if I need to, and jump back into the deeper dive quicker because I know
Yes.
where we left off.
Yeah.
And yeah, that works for no one but me.
So today's Indigenous Peoples Day.
It
So
is.
are you working today? Are you kind of off? How are you? What's the
So
plan?
I have a couple Oceania clients, meaning like New Zealand, Australia
Oh, okay.
area of the world, and so it's tomorrow. It's Tuesday there. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking those calls because it's not a holiday.
Okay.
They're harder to reschedule essentially
For
because they're
sure.
a day ahead. So those I'm taking those calls, but otherwise, yeah, I'm taking the day off.
Okay.
What about
Nice.
you?
Um, so the new project that I've been working on, where I'm a big fan. I've never really talked about this. In the beginning, when you're working with anybody, in my opinion, you want more meetings on the front end, right? And I know lots
Yeah,
of people are like, I don't want lots of meetings. Just leave me alone and like let me do my job. Cool. You're putting yourself into a place to where if you don't smash it, you're going to be out the door, right? Whereas like if you had in the beginning of any client relationship, if you're spending more time with them, right, they're getting a sense and a gist for how you work, how you communicate, everything else like that. Also, you're building a relationship there. So big fan of in the beginning more client meetings, and then gradually kind of tapering that off as you understand each other and things like that. So my kind of
yeah,
weekly catch up for this new client is on Mondays, which is something I wasn't I wasn't doing meetings on Mondays. It was just like all planning and work and stuff like that. But this was just the easiest day to put it on. So
yeah.
it's there for now. And then I have this call with the person who scheduled time with me today. So like
Okay.
if I don't get some clarity as to why this meeting is on the calendar and what we're talking about, then I'm probably going to cancel it. Which is the bad part about trying to do this with people who are too task oriented. If you don't give them the clarity they need, you're just dead to them, and the meeting is done as well. So that's very interesting. And then I
Well,
have a
and the
lunch
meeting's
club
going to go
call.
better too, right?
What's that?
And the meeting's going to go better too. Like from their side, if they
Yeah, but
let you
like,
know.
I mean, like, there's such a thing in just get the meeting mentality, which like lots of
Oh
people
yeah,
are
yeah.
like just like and some people only pay their setters if they like set the meetings and stuff like this. So
I
while
got
and this is really interesting because like I made that post last week on LinkedIn about like here are the things that people think that you
Yeah.
need to be, right? And this stuff it is. And this one person was like, come on, man, really? Hiring managers, owners, and gave this long list of very technical roles of people who are trying to do it the right way. He goes, no one is not one of these people is looking for these things. You know, where'd you get your data from? I was like, I don't know. Maybe it's from talking to lots of people and saying, hey, I'm a salesperson. I'm a sales coach. I really love what I do. And they're like, you know what? I could never do that because I don't want to manipulate people. I don't know. Maybe that's where I got my data. I don't know. But
Yeah.
like I was like the world is a lot bigger than the list of people that you have here, you know. So that was
Yeah.
just kind of astounding. Just how do you I don't yeah, that threw me for a loop last night when I saw that comment of who were you talking to? Like, I don't know. Blew me away. I was completely stunned.
Well, I mean, it's new information for that person, so that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, but just to come in so heavy-handed, like there's no possible
Wow.
way that I could know what I'm talking about. Well, that is fundamentally the internet kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really know why I went in that direction, but anyway.
I can't remember.
So you're not going to be here Friday.
I'm not. I've got
You
an
were
all-day
not.
training at work,
Yes.
so I'll be in that.
We will still have the show on Friday. We're going to have Sebastian from Central Metric on to talk about revenue operations and how revenue is an executive function. And he's got some really cool stuff to talk about sales ops, revenue ops, sales process, and stuff like that. So he will be helping us out on Friday, guesting. And then, and then the following Monday, you're out. We'll probably just take the day off.
Yeah, probably so.
So the 17th, no morning bill.
Yep.
Okay, I'm good for that.
Yep. So
awesome.
Okay, cool, man. Well, anything that you got going on today? That
no, I have two other little small meetings. I guess. Are you prompting me, or are you honestly asking? I forget. Hold on. You sound like you're prompting me.
Oh no, I was just trying to figure out. Like, is there anything else that we talked about, or anything else you got going on that you want to bring up? Yeah.
That's the John question that makes Melissa uncomfortable, right? Whenever well, just whenever I'm like, oh, wait a minute, are you I don't pick up on hints very well.
Yeah.
The AI has not been refined to that point.
Yeah.
So sometimes prompts and like things like I just miss completely. So that's what I was asking about, and that's the stuff that always makes Melissa uncomfortable when I'm like, can I get some clarity on this? Are you just asking, or where does that come from?
Yeah,
she's just over there pinching me. But no, I have two. I have a lunch club makeup call, and then a small 30-minute call with a sales nerd who's launching a new project. So I wanted to kind of hear what he's working on. But yeah, pretty light day overall.
Cool. Good.
Yeah. Kiddos out of school, so we'll do some hanging out for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool, man. All right. Well, I've got my meetings are early, so I'm going to get to it. Luckily.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And let me know if you need anything.
Yeah, man. You do the same. I don't imagine you will. You're dialed in these days, my friend.
Yeah, and it's a light day for me too, so I'll be done hopefully pretty quick. We got some friends coming over because the kids are off school, so that should be fun too.
Nice. Very nice. Yep. Cool, man.
All right, well, Michelle, good to see you. Thanks for being here. And Chris Rivera, good to see you back.
Yeah, man. Burlington. He said Burlington, and my mind just went to Burlington Northern, right? The railroad. And I was like, ooh, what are you doing for that? For BNSF.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Burlington Northern Santa Fe.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Burlington Coat Factory. Interesting.
Yep.
I did this is going to sound weird, and I'm not trying to sound challenging. I didn't know they were still around. I thought they were kind of like a Mervyn's thing, and they were scaling down and shrinking.
They're bigger than Kohl's.
Really? That's fascinating.
Yes, they big boys.
I have questions.
Yes, I think they're more northeastern though, which is why we don't see them as much. Bless you. Yes.
Ooh, excuse me.
That's funny about those. The things that aren't in Texas. You're like, oh, are they around?
Oh, yeah. What is this? What is this Tim Hortons thing everyone talks
Yeah.
about? I like. Is that even real? Of
Yeah. Is
course
that
it
like a
is. It's not in
Canada
Texas.
thing? I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to someone about Whataburger. No, it was Q. I was talking to Q about Whataburger, and he was like, "I think I've had that before." And I said, "When you were in Texas?" And he goes, "No, I think they had one in Milwaukee." And I was like, "They do not."
That's
he was like, "You
false.
sure?" And I'm like, "Pretty sure it's Texas only."
Yeah.
Like that might change now because they're part of that big kind of
Yes.
chain thing,
Yeah, 'cause
but like,
Chicago chain bottom, but
yeah,
they spread out. But it's still south, I think, right now,
I think
mostly.
so. So
Yeah. All right,
cool.
man. Well,
It was good to see
good
you.
talk. Good to see you on Friday, and good
Yes.
chat today.
Absolutely. Thanks for Michelle and Chris for hanging out. You guys are awesome. Chris, man, great questions. Thank you for asking. Appreciate it.
Yeah, y'all come back Friday. I'm actually probably gonna take a little sneak peek before my meeting starts, so I'll be in the comments for a few minutes. But
Pressure.
bring us some action. I can't wait to hear about it. I'm a little jealous. I don't get to ask questions while I'm there. So
you
have
can
fun with
you
that.
can you can you can experience the customer experience.
Yeah,
The
I'll be
the
team
Mike
replay.
the Mike Tao and Dylan experience
That's right.
and
That's
Michelle
right.
experience.
That's right. I'll come in team replay and ask questions. See what happens. See if those dumb hosts answer questions
Dude,
after
it
the show.
is okay. Okay. This is interesting. If someone leaves a comment on the replay, it is remarkably difficult to go find that to go find that spot in the live stream. And LinkedIn, can we fix that? Because like some
Nigh
people that have asked us some questions that I want to go back and like answer,
Yep.
but like I can't seem to get the
Find them.
question to pop up in the stream and respond to it. It is endlessly frustrating.
Yes,
Fix
I,
it.
I I say it very often these days that LinkedIn makes things nigh impossible on video. It's just so hard to get to things functional around video on LinkedIn.
Yes. Yep.
I agree, totally agree. So show up and answer your questions live, people. Like so we can actually talk to you because otherwise we can't get to them. We can't find them, man.
Yeah. Like I'm like moving the dot through the timeline on the thing, like trying to get it to, and then it just doesn't pop up. So
No, it won't catch up sometimes.
it's very frustrating. Very
Yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah. On that
Hey, man.
note,
Come on, LinkedIn, fix your stuff.
come on, LinkedIn. Okay.
Yes.
All
You
right.
mean to tell me that me paying for Sales Navigator doesn't provide enough revenue for you to go fix all the things that I'm like asking you guys to fix?
Right. Yeah. It's almost like they don't even care about us. Like they're a,
It's insane. It's insane.
multi-billion conglomerate doing what they want.
Yeah, like whatever they want. It's not like it's
And
a team out
Microsoft.
here.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right.
I'll see
See you guys.
you. Whoa, I'm not gonna see you for like 2 weeks.
Pretty close.
Dang.
Pretty close.
Okay.
I'll check in. Don't worry. I'll check
Yeah,
in.
we're gonna need some digital bill touch-ins.
Some digital bill.
Digital bill.
That's our crypto. There it is. That's our coin. Digital bill.
Awesome.
All right. Have a
All right,
good
man.
one.
I will.
And
I'll
thanks,
talk to you
everybody.
soon.
All right.
See you, everybody.